4 short years ago, I was sitting on my bed in New South watching The West Wing. And as early as then, freshman year, I came to realize something powerful about our education here at Georgetown. In the episode I was watching, 2 frustrated White House staffers are discussing U.S. efforts for peace in the Middle East, and how every new American strategy seemed to be bound to fail, and how every peace effort seemed to be in vain. Leo, the more senior of the 2, complains aloud, "I just don't know what winning looks like." And with exasperation, he turns to Sam, the bright young communications director, played by Rob Lowe, and asks, "Is it the American flag flying over Mecca?" Sam responds, saying, "We have to hope that someone will think of something before we have to do the unthinkable." So Leo asks Sam, "You're one of the big minds of your young generation. Have you thought of anything yet?" And Sam responds that no, he hasn't, and the scene cuts away. But later in the episode, out of nowhere, Sam comes back to Leo and tells him something that in that moment put into words everything it meant to me to be a student in Georgetown's SFS with 3 years in front of me. He says, with youthful enthusiasm, "I wouldn't speak for anybody else, but you know I'm not done yet, right?" From that moment until now, SFS introduced me to global problems as challenging as Sam and Leo's, and absolutely dared me, and every one of us, not to be done yet. Because we've shared conversations in classrooms for the last 4 years, I know there are so many of us who are just beginning, starting careers in the tradition of SFS alumni, whose contributions to this world attest to our collective commitment to refuse to be done. We will graduate tomorrow as a class that carries their same undaunted ambition, their same uncommon willingness to push back against the seemingly intractable and unsolvable problems in this world. This ambitious path is one I know to be difficult because at many times I have been tempted by cynicism, especially when I returned from 6 weeks in Liberia in 2007. I came back to the hilltops stunned by the world, and the challenging experience left me frustrated at my own naivete and inexperience. Feeling deeply inadequate, I tried to distance myself from what I had seen and what I had failed to accomplish. But I always kept gravitating back to Liberia, writing papers on its challenges, and taking courses that promised training in what I knew I lacked. The SFS focused my attention on the study of poverty, policy, and global health, over and above more comfortable topics with more easily resolvable problems. Those problems deserve attention. Fixing them is good too, but not our good. Because when the SFS takes us to meet the world, messy and fraught with controversy, it raises the stakes for our futures, raises them to the pursuit of the greater good. When this community calls us back from the brink of pessimism and cynicism, it calls us to our magis, the core virtue of Jesuit education, to pursue the greatest good in our lives, our decisions, and our accomplishments. We were drawn out on our unstable footing to encounter perspectives that clash with our own and make sense of intellectual conflict. And the experience taught us that sometimes you can't pick winners. You have to pick between winners, or accept having no winner at all. As we walk out of the front gates tomorrow, we will take with us not only the capacity, but also the compulsion to seek the greater good, 2 gifts of our Georgetown education. In a couple of weeks, I will return to Liberia for the summer, leaning on the skills I've grown to trust through the classes, debates, and controversies that make up an SFS education. You'll hear more about Liberia tomorrow from our graduation speaker, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, of whom I'm a big fan. I believe her willingness to lead her people out of a 23-year history of civil conflict is the greatest expression of love and goodness I may ever witness. When I was in Liberia in 2007, I saw what she faced in reconstructing a shattered society. I found sadness, destruction, and deprivation, but never without hope. Never without hope. Liberians lacked education, opportunity, electricity, health, but what they did have was principled leadership in a bad situation from a person who didn't have to be there. After narrowly escaping death and imprisonment in Liberia, President Johnson Sirleaf could have continued a highly successful career abroad, but instead returned home because she knew her country needed her to act once more. She knew what the greater good was, and she wasn't done yet. Tomorrow, she will speak to a group of people, us, that has the potential to provide that same principled leadership in bad situations, in schools in American cities, in combat units in Afghanistan, facing centuries-old conflicts and in challenges we can't anticipate. 29 years ago, when Dean Lancaster first joined the Georgetown faculty, the foreign policy challenges came from the Soviet Union, and the first cases of what would later be known as HIV and AIDS were observed in America. Today, as Professor Herbenack was so fond of reminding us in math, it's the former Soviet Union, and the battle against AIDS is turning in our favor. Who knows what the global challenges will look like in another 29 years, but I am confident that there will be SFS graduates, Hoyas like us, there to confront injustice and controversy, no matter what, no matter where. I am confident that sitting in this room, among the honorees of this Tropaia, there are people who will follow President Johnson Sirleaf's example and choose to go back to the toughest problems and the roughest places with an unbridled passion that only this school and this university can foster, the passion for the greatest good. And I know I speak for the class in saying to everyone gathered here that as long as there's a greater good out there, we're not done yet,